Hey guys, it is spring here in Minnesota, and that means it is time for our Chair in Full Bloom collaboration video with Sonnet's Garden Blooms membership group. We had so much fun decking our chairs for the holidays that we're gonna deck our chairs for spring. So make sure to check out all the creators. I'll leave that link below. I'm Sylvia with Backyard Brushes, and my shop is actually in Fountain City, Wisconsin. And it looks the same there as it does here outside, no matter which side of the Mississippi I'm on. So let's just roll up our sleeves, go inside, and let's get creating. I have a personal goal in 2026 to shop my stash. I pulled these rocking chairs out of my garage thinking they were perfect for the Chair in Full Bloom challenge. I just thought the baby chair paired with the larger rocking chair reminded me of sitting on the porch in the summer with my granny and my mother. I chose to use Basil by Sweet Pickens Milk Paint. I thought the darker green would be a nice contrast for the lighter colors I'll be using. And I also love the chippiness of the milk paint. So I mixed up a batch of the basil milk paint with a 1-to-1 ratio. I stirred it, I let it sit, and then I applied it to both rocking chairs, and I used 2 coats of paint. I probably should have sanded the chairs first, but I decided not to, hoping it would increase my chance of chippiness, and it did. Once they were dry, I used a sanding sponge and I just sanded down and wiped off the excess paint. I chose to use the Sweet Pickens dark oil. I covered both chairs, let them sit for at least 20 minutes and wiped them down with a shop rag. And as you can see, I got plenty of chippiness, and yet they're well protected with that dark oil wax. I'd previously purchased this wood bucket from the Goodwill, and I paid $2.99 for the bucket. But I felt it was a little too new looking. So the first thing I did is grab my drill and I removed all of the hardware. I am using Old and Gray, a patina by DIY Paints, and I just kind of painted and wiped it down, staining the bucket to help give it a more aged effect, covering both the inside and outside of the bucket. I allowed the bucket to dry for at least an hour while I cut out some flowers from the IOD St. Germain transfers. I love the IOD transfers, they're so easy to apply. I just laid the transfers on top of the bucket using a stick, which the rubbing stick comes with the transfers, and I just rubbed and peeled back the backing of the transfers. It's almost like applying a child's tattoo. It's that easy. And then once I get the transfer applied, I varnish it with the back side of the transfer paper just to make sure that the transfers are adhered to the product. And I just worked my way around with different flowers around the bucket. I will leave a link below if you're interested in purchasing any of the IOD, Sweet Pickens, or DIY products for Sonnet's Garden Blooms website. After the transfers were applied, I used a sanding sponge and I just lightly went over and distressed areas of the transfers. I didn't want it looking too shiny and new, as I was going to try and age my bucket. Using Dixie Belle's bronze metal paint, I painted all the hardware, and I used 2 layers of the bronze paint. And I can also leave a link in the description box if you're interested in picking up the Dixie Belle products. I used the green patina spray, which I happen to have also in a smaller bottle so that I can control the spray a little more. And while the second layer of the bronze paint was wet, I gave the metal some good coatings of the green spray. And I let that sit for a couple hours. Using Big Top, I sealed my transfers into the bucket. Whenever using IOD transfers, you want to seal them. I then used the Big Top to seal the patina on the metal, and it might be kind of hard to see in the video, but I did get some really good green patina on my metal pieces, which helped give it that aged look. What I didn't catch on film is I had painted the handle of the bucket with the Sweet Pickens pantry door milk paint. And then using the Sweet Pickens dark wax, in the actual wax, I gently covered the bucket and over the transfers just to help age it a little bit. I sanded the handle of the wood handle of the bucket, and I also covered that in the Sweet Pickens wax and used the shop rag to wipe off the extra wax just to help give it that aged effect. The Sweet Pickens dark wax is really easy to use and it smells good. I used my electric drill and I reattached all of the hardware to the bucket. The project was really inexpensive and easy, and I love the layered look of the transfers, the metal, and the wood. Using this pantry door by Sweet Pickens and also the basil, I added paint to 2 different spray bottles, and these are just cheap little spray bottles that I had gotten from the dollar store. I added water to the paint just to help dilute it down and thin it out so it would run through the spray bottle. And using 2 pillows my brother had sewn last winter for me for the Deck the Chair challenge, I sprayed both of the canvas pillows with the Sweet Pickens milk paint that's diluted, just to help stain the canvas to help match the chairs and just make my vignette just a little bit more cohesive. And when the fabric dries, some of that water evaporates and it leaves it a little lighter. Using I'm gonna admit, I do not know the name of this stamp set by IOD. I don't even know what flower this is. I want to say it's roses from maybe a rose tree versus a rose bush. But if you know what these flowers are, please let me know in the comments below, because I do not know. But I liked them and I thought they matched my floral theme. So using a permanent ink, I stamped the flower pattern right onto the dry canvas. I do believe these are daisies, one of my favorite flowers. Using the permanent ink, I stamped the daisy stamp, and it's in the same stamp set as the previous flowers. But again, I know they're IOD, I just cannot remember their names. And yeah, I probably should look it up. And I just stamped the flowers, the daisies, right onto the canvas in the center. Using Liquid Sunshine, Eden, and Beadboard by DIY Paints, I just painted my flowers. I laid the colors down onto the canvas. I didn't worry so much about blending and mixing the paint. The canvas doesn't absorb as much paint as if you were painting on a canvas. So I'm just laying the paint on top of the material and layering it. I just added some white whenever I felt I needed highlights. I was not worried at all about it being perfect. And I just went around and I filled in the DIY stamps. It is so easy. The stamps are so detailed. It's just really easy to paint. For the second pillow, I did the same thing. I used, I don't know my DIY paint colors that well. My pink, I used a dark pink and a light pink that I had from Sonnet's Maker's box. And I don't remember the names. I apologize. And you don't have to use the DIY paints. You can use your favorite paints. And I did the same thing. I just layered the paints on. I felt the edges needed a little darkening up. So just using that Eden paint, I just splattered some green around the edges just to have a little contrast. Using the permanent ink, I went back around, inked up my daisy stamp, making sure it was just nice and juicy. And I pressed it on top. And the hardest thing is probably lining up the stamps the best you can. And again, who cares if it's not perfect? Nobody's going to be looking at it that closely. And I just pressed the stamp right on top of the flowers. And it just kind of helps bring out the detail of the flowers, which you don't have to worry about when you're painting them. I did the same thing with, I'm just going to call them my pink roses. I think they're a type of rose from like a rose tree, but again, I don't know. You'll have to let me know. And I just inked up my stamp, went over the flower, pressed down, and I let IOD's stamp give me the details that I didn't have to worry about painting. I used polyfill to stuff my pillows, and what I don't show is I do take the pillows inside and I sew up the edges. And I have a pillow for each chair. Using Pantry Door by Sweet Pickens Milk Paint, I mixed up the paint with a 1-to-1 ratio. I learned from Connie, the painted photographer, to add my powder to the warm water versus adding the water to the powder. The paint seems to dissolve easier. I mixed in the paint and I set it aside for at least 20 minutes. And in the meantime, using table salt in a glass jar, I just dumped the salt in, didn't measure it, grabbed some hydrogen peroxide, squirted some in. Again, I didn't measure it. I really don't think the amounts matter. Then I topped it off with some white vinegar, stirring it with the back of a paintbrush. I used a chain that I actually got from the hardware store for about $3, and I let the chain sit in the mixture overnight. I had found these two funnels. One was $3 and one was $2. And I pulled those from my stash. And using the hand drill, I added holes on the side of the top side of the funnels, metal funnels. Now, I am trying Connie's method for the first time. I'm using is it Type Bond? No, that's my glue. I'm using the bonding agent from Sweet Pickens Milk Paint, and I'm applying it evenly to both funnels. I will then use the Sweet Pickens Milk Paint over the bond once it has dried, and it gives you the best crackling, crazing effect. On the bottom of the small funnel, I did use crinoline in DIY and did not get the crazing. I still had some rose chintz and have more on the way. Thank you, Cindy from CNC. And I applied these rose transfers. This is from another transfer book, and I can't remember which one. It's the one with the little bunny rabbits, but they're larger roses. And I applied the transfers to the paint inlays to the wet paint. And I let them sit and dry after pressing them in. I did lay them on the funnels, the wet paint. I used a baby wipe to press the paint, let them dry. Once they were completely dry, I misted them, and I was able to peel off the paint inlays. And seriously, it really was that easy. And with that crazing underneath the paint inlay, I absolutely loved it. And yes, the crazing works with the milk paint, not with the DIY paint. I pulled my chain, which by now was nice and rusty, from my mixture. Using a needle nose plier, I was able to separate the chain and create a gap that I could attach it to the funnels. Using the Sweet Pickens dark oil, I did cover both funnels to seal the project, and it also just brings out that crazing so beautifully with the milk paint. It's one of my favorite sealers. Once it had sit for at least 10 to 20 minutes, I just went over it with a shop rag and removed the excess oil. And I'm going to tell you, I absolutely am in love with this method. Thank you, Connie from The Painted Photographer, for not following rules. You can kind of see the crazing here, and it also occurred under the paint lay also, which might be a little bit more difficult to see. Again, I separated my chains with a needle nose plier. I attached them to the funnels, and I had seen this actually in, I think it was the Country Living magazine, where they had used funnels for their annual plants. I cannot buy any annual plants now. They are not in the stores. So I'm hoping once I'm able to plant flowers this spring, I'm gonna add coconut shells into these funnels, add some annual flowers, and hang them outside my windows. And actually, I might hang one inside my office. I'm not sure yet, but I absolutely loved how this project turned out. For now, we're gonna have to go with the silk artificial flowers. I found this small little watering can, I think it's a decorative watering can, in my garage, galvanized metal, and I followed the same method. I used the bond from Sweet Pickens, 2 coats of the pantry door Sweet Pickens milk paint, applied an IOD transfer using a light sandpaper. I just lightly distressed my transfer so it didn't look bright, shiny, and new. I covered the whole watering can with the Sweet Pickens dark oil. I let it sit for approximately 20 minutes, wiped off that excess oil, and I absolutely love how this turned out. And it was really easy, you guys. I don't know if you can see that crazing, but you can see that crazing underneath the IOD transfer. It was then time to deck the chair, and I tried to use different textures and mediums. I actually had terracotta pots I busted on the way into the shop. I was hoping it would give a little contrast. And to be honest, it was so much fun decorating these chairs. I might have went a little overboard and they turned out a little too busy or chaotic, and for that I apologize, but it really was fun. So, did I complete the challenge? Did I make it feel like spring is on its way? Hopefully. I would love to know what is your favorite project in this video and if it's starting to feel like spring for you. So please leave a comment below. And if you found this video inspirational, please hit subscribe and follow me along on my creative journey. Thank you.